Hey guys, it's your girl Aisha, aka geekxxchic, and I'm back with another reaction to The Gifted. We are now on episode 2 of season 2, which is entitled unMoored. Such an old term, like that's just something people never really use anymore. That's something you find in like Shakespearean language, but unmoored basically means to unanchor or to not feel secured anymore. Basically, if someone said I feel unmoored, they'd be basically saying that I don't feel very stable or very secure at the moment. So after last week's episode, I could definitely see how that theme could potentially fall for a lot of people. Last episode was really just about establishing what's happened in the world 6 months past what happened in the finale of last season. We have the birth of Polaris and Eclipse's little one, who she named Dawn instead of Aurora. Boring. And we also had just kind of the lines drawn. We saw that the inner circle has now overtaken the Brotherhood. All the old school Brotherhood people are gone. Riva is now in charge of the inner circle, and she is all about creating a mutant utopia, which is going to be human free, and then where they're going to be able to do whatever they want. And she's basically really like willing to sacrifice it all to get that dream. And now that this baby is born, which I think was kind of like I think she was waiting on Polaris to have this baby so that she can have Polaris kind of go full throttle as far as using her as a weapon. But we'll have to see how things go now that the baby's been born. We saw Polaris reminiscing a lot last episode about her and Marcos, and clearly she's not feeling as okay with the idea of having to raise Dawn on her own as she might have been when she left initially. So I think a lot of things about her emotions and what Dawn needs over what she needs are going to start coming to the forefront this season, but we're just going to have to see. We also saw that Mama Strucker and Eclipse are both getting very antsy about the location of Andy and Lorna. They're kind of, their desperation to be with these people that they love is really kind of masking the fact that both of those people, both Lorna and Andy, chose to leave. But this episode, I want to just jump right in because honestly, after the first one, I'm not really sure which direction we're going to go. I think we're just going to start putting in the building blocks of figuring out what's going to happen for the rest of the season and what our arc's going to be. We didn't see Jace at all last episode either. So without further ado, let's jump into this episode and we'll chat afterwards, okay? Boop. Tuxin. Woo! Hello, John. What's a hammer? Oh, you son of a... Love the shoes. They're slaying more than the guys in the ring. 2-on-1? Hey, hottie. Hi. Sorry. I'm thirsty. Damn! I think you grabbed that man's genitals. This is so Wolverine right now. Like, this is like X-Men, the first X-Men movie with Wolverine in the cage fighting.
I need your help.
Do I look like I'm in any shape to help anyone?
I'm an attorney.
You just got hit with a sledgehammer and you're fine.
I worked my ass off. Became the youngest prosecutor in Philadelphia history.
He's like, I don't care.
Because a face like yours deserves better than a baseball bat.
Yes!
You weren't chosen by accident.
I don't even know if they made it out.
Come on, of course they made it.
Of course they
How can you be
did.
sure of that?
It's Lorna. She's a badass. Come on.
Oh, God.
Don't do something stupid. I know that face.
I might know someone who can.
Ah, John.
Don't mind Esme. She spent too much time in the mutant underground while we were locked up. She went a little soft. I'm just
Shut up,
saying
me.
we have other... Can you handle this for me?
Could we have dissension within the Cuckoos? I'm here for that storyline.
Come on, you guys. Let's call it a night.
Okay, but why... Girl, I don't understand why Blink isn't washing her hair. There's no need for this. Her hair looks terrible. Whoever's in charge of her wig maintenance needs a strict talking to. Like, doesn't she have to participate? Like, actively? Wow. Lauren is serious about this. Okay, the stakes are up. All right, Lauren. I like this. Jace! Bro! Brett, where you been, man?
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is Jace on, like, sedatives? He is so low energy.
What's going on?
Yeah.
All your files on the mutant underground in the attic behind the Christmas lights. Baby, we
Y'all
have
thought you would keep secrets from your wife. Jace, you should know
can
better.
build a new.
She and I have a complicated relationship, I guess.
How complicated? Do tell.
How complicated.
Oh yeah, detoxing him would be really hard. Holy crap.
You're killing me!
You're doing this?
I mean, you cannot fault the cuckoo's style. I mean, icons.
Both keep in position.
Icons.
But like Lauren said, he chose to leave.
Thank
We
you.
should just let him go?
Yes. How are you gonna stop him? He could literally kill you.
Dude, what if it was Daddy's little girl?
I
Wow.
want to talk about Lauren. Let's talk about Lauren. We're living with a mom who is here in name only.
Woo!
I mean, I love you more than anything, Kate.
Woo!
But since Andy left, it's like living with a ghost.
I'm a ghost.
Andrew, these walls are made of the same materials you'll face at the target of
That
our
actually
first
annoys me every time she calls him Andrew.
Stronger than
Andy! No! No!
Good.
What happened?
Good.
Why you hiding here like the frickin' Lizard of Oz?
Please, help us.
Oh, you
Anything
did
can do.
not.
Andrew, have a seat. I assume you know why I asked you to come by?
Every time she says that.
I didn't have a lot of friends growing up.
I can't imagine
friend of this
why,
girl named
murderess.
I won't fail again this afternoon. I promise.
Glad to hear it.
And while you're at it, dye your hair back. It looks ridiculous.
They seem to be triggered by elevated glucocorticoid levels.
Look at what now?
I fear
If I don't.
Ha! Definition of lazy parenting. Kid doesn't like you, Andy.
What is it with you? I just tried feeding you.
She's like, I hate his hair. Get him out.
Everybody knows how much you and Paula lost, but this is crazy. Listen to me, as your friend. Let it go. New job, new plan.
Let it go.
You and Paula pulled through.
Let it go. That is the worst thing you can say to someone who's obsessed. He is so not letting it go.
Since your failure in Atlanta,
Oh.
half the underground's been taken apart. Sentinel Services has cracked down on mutants and anybody who helps them. You think I'm gonna let you destroy the rest of what we built?
Yikes.
Now get out of my office.
Whew. Chilly. She's a dragon, but it was nothing but ice in that breath, girl.
Don't.
But
But what?
But,
there's a mutant.
okay.
Goes by Erg. He's a
Who?
mutant separatist.
Berg?
I'm sorry for that night in Tucson. I gave you a cause. I didn't know that cause was doomed.
All right, well, thanks for the pep talk. See you next week, coach. Yeesh.
But if he doesn't trust us, then we can't trust him. I'll talk to him.
Ooh.
Assess the situation, whether he's reliable.
I didn't even need to hear that to hear it was like
We
a...
can't keep him here if he's... I hoped that you'd come to think of this place as a home. Of us as people you could trust.
I do.
Except that you terrify
That's why I'm
me.
training him.
Ugh. So
Memphis is
gullible,
human,
Andy.
all right? So you're gonna need to
Or
change
sorry,
this twice a
Andrew.
day.
Poor Lauren. Wow, both you parents are just failing this game, Struckers. Uh-oh. Breathe, 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 Reid, breathe. But I kind of want to see what it is, though. So don't breathe. Let it go. Let it go. Yeah. Oh. He just sits and these things. That is so cool.
It's fine, I promise. Everything's okay.
Why is everyone lying?
Good.
It's like the theme of this episode.
I was worried she'd chain you to another bed.
Well,
It's fine.
if you're asking. Can we just push her? Sorry. Not really. Just drink the pain away like everyone else does, Marcos. It'll be fine. Really, we can't have you just sparking off in public and stuff. What are you up to, John? You are so off kilter right now. Where are you going, Reid? What is happening? Aww. His hair is so amazing. Aw, poor John. Well, Satan is now finally actualized. Andrew, that's your satanic name. Of course it's raining. Of course. Can we add any more sad tropes now, please? It's the Marco signal. Mutants everywhere, unite!
Dawn? You're burning up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's okay. Help somebody, please!
It's just a fever, relax.
I need help!
Babies have fevers all the time. What is going on with baby Dawn? She's pissed. I'm telling you, she's pissed. She's like, my name's supposed to be Aurora and you gave me this basic name. I'm pissed. You kept me from my daddy. You gave me this basic name. I'm burning up. I'm burning up. All right, guys. That was episode 2 of The Gifted, which was called unMoored. And yeah, there was a lot of people who are definitely not really sure where they fall right now. Everyone was definitely a bit discombobulated, very unsteady. Like their foundations, the things that people kind of believed in are all being shaken. And I love that this episode kind of brought it up for everybody in a different way. Well, not everybody, but the main people that we've kind of dealt with since season 1. And I think they did a really good job of it. I don't know if plot-wise we actually moved anywhere. All we really learned was one piece of information, which is the fact that all the stuff that the Inner Circle and I guess the Brotherhood by extension beforehand was doing is all gearing towards a big battle. And so that's a piece of information obviously the Underground did not know before and that we didn't know. But yeah, that other than that, it was really more, this was definitely more of a character-centric episode. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I don't know how many episodes we have this season, but if there's more than about 13 or so, we probably will have time to really delve into the characters a bit more. And that's obviously a great way to keep the budget down on a show that's full of special effects. So this episode, let's jump into the few things that kind of, well, actually let's kind of go through each character to a degree. I think that might be a good way to kind of start it all. We'll start with the Von Strucker family, or the Strucker, I keep calling them Von. The Strucker family, because they were kind of the bigger part of this episode, I would say. Starting with Lauren, you know, this dream that she's having. When she saw that Andy's hair was blonde is when I figured out that this is clearly more than just a dream. They're clearly connecting on some level. I guess ever since they did that joining of powers, they're kind of, I guess, to be psychically linked on some level as well. I thought it was really impressive to see, because I wasn't sure. Like, I think the biggest thing that's going to be the arc for Lauren and Andy this season, I guess, respectively. But I mentioned in the last episode that Lauren would potentially be struggling with where to be on this whole situation with her brother. And we know that she does not agree with the way that the Inner Circle is dealing with the whole idea of mutant-human relations, right? Lauren, from like season 1, we saw Lauren was very much of the mind of, she didn't want people to know she was a mutant. She didn't want to be like the loud and proud mutant. She wanted to just live a normal life. And, you know, if she had to use her powers, she would. Like, she very much wants to live in a world where humans and mutants can coexist peacefully. And Andy, obviously, you know, has his issues and does not quite agree with that. But I wasn't sure if maybe her connection with Andy was going to pull her in a way that was more dangerous. I mean, we did see in that short moment last season when they were in the parking garage and Sentinel Services was coming for them right before they were going to be captured, and Lauren was like, okay, let's bring this building down, let's just do it. And then Andy was the one to be like, okay, whoa, we can't do that. Like, we're going to kill a lot of innocent people. So we know that Lauren definitely teeters a little bit from time to time with her conscience about using their superpower. But in this last sequence we saw, she was willing to kill herself. She was willing to end her life over using that power, you know, as a weapon against innocence. And so that's a very strong message to me. Like, that's massive to say that I'm willing to die if I can't stop, if this is the only way to stop this from happening. And I think that's what really shook Andy to his core. I think he, before this, knew that Lauren had philosophical differences, but I think in his head he thought, well, if it came down to it, she's going to choose me. You know, she's going to choose, you know, the people she cares about. But the fact that she was willing to kill herself to get away from him, that's massive, you know. And I'm glad, it was nice to see that Andy was shook by that, because I mean, I don't think the kid's pure evil. For the record, I know a lot of you are like, why are you so hard on Andy? I don't hate his character. I really, really don't. He annoys me right now. There's certain characteristics about his character that definitely bother me. That just, for me, that's just a personal thing. But I don't think he's irredeemable. As I said, I don't think he's gone too far that he's unsavable. He's 15. You know, no 15-year-old knows what they're gonna be or what they want to do yet. He's just, right now, his series of decisions are very frustrating to me as a viewer. I don't think he's evil. Clearly, he's not a terrible person. He wouldn't be looking out for Lorna the way he is. He wouldn't be worrying about his family the way he is, you know, if he didn't have any sorts of feeling. It's just, as I said, he kind of lets his anger and his bitterness kind of lead in his life, and that's a little bit bothersome to me. And like, that's why Riva and the inner circle are able to manipulate him like this, because he's leading from this place that's not about acceptance or love or care, which is the things he claims to be fighting for, right? Mutants, you know, the mutant inner circle saying that we want to have, you know, peace, but you can't have peace by making more war. Like, that's never been the right equation. So anyway, don't want to go too deep down that, but I'm just saying that with Andy, I didn't think he was pure evil, and it was kind of nice to see him be a little bit more shook about how Lauren is taking all this and how his family, by extension, might take his decisions with this group going forward. And it was very interesting that we saw that he clearly trusts Riva fully, which is something that even Polaris still doesn't do. But again, I think he felt like he needed to do that because Polaris kind of gave him that veiled warning, like, you know, if Riva thinks for a second that you're not on board with this, it's not going to be good for you, kind of thing. So I think, I don't know how much of this, I mean, I'd like to think, I mean, we know that Andy is not stupid. So I'm like to think that Andy is playing a game right now, that he recognizes, you know, he's got the Cuckoos, he's got Riva, he's got people here who could definitely out him if he's not careful. So maybe he's just playing the game to the extent that he needs to in order to keep that, you know, scrutiny off of him. But maybe deep down he is really having this deep sense of, I'm not okay with this anymore. I'm really not okay with this. So with Lauren's story, I loved with Lauren as well at the end of the episode with her and Reid. The fact that she just kind of came for it. Like, I'm gonna be real, even I didn't even think about the fact that people died. Like, innocent people died during that whole ambush, like, in, you know, humans and mutants alike. And the fact that, you know, Lauren was like, why is no one talking about the fact that people have died? You know, that this is like a traumatic thing for her as a 16, 17-year-old girl to be dealing with the fact that her actions and people have died trying to protect her. There's a lot going on that's so much bigger than the pettiness that, you know, Reid and Mama Strucker are fighting about. And the fact that the parents are so obsessed with, you know, kind of being right in this argument of which, you know, what cause they should be fighting for. Lauren's like, hello, can we just talk about the fact that, you know, people are dying and that there's this massive issue that's kind of bigger than all that, and like we just have to keep plugging on. And that's such a reality of battle and war. When wars are actually going on in certain places, you know, you kind of have to keep plugging forward. You know, people who are involved in wars, they have to just keep going forward. Like, you got to keep moving on. You don't really have a choice to sit in it, but it doesn't stop the fact that there's still trauma and there's still a lot going on, and a lot of, and that's why they say, like, PTSD always happens. You know, people get away from the war at some point, but there's years of, or sometimes even a lifetime of recovery after that because of all the trauma that happened that they didn't have a chance to sit and deal with because they had to keep moving at that point. So I really love that Lauren kind of brought out to Reid, like, okay, you and Mom are like fighting over which kid you guys love more, or if we're doing the right thing about trying to look for Andy, and you're not thinking about the fact that all these other traumatic things have happened that all of us should be really bothered by. And I don't know if that's the case, and no one's asking me truly how I am. You know, even when Reid was asking about Lauren, he wasn't really asking how Lauren was so much as he was just kind of, everyone's kind of dealing with their own stuff right now, so they're so involved and self-involved in what's going on that they're not really looking to see what's going on with the people around them. And that's what Lauren kind of brought out at the end with her dad. Like, you're so self-involved with what you're going through, which she doesn't know. Obviously, as an audience, we know what he's dealing with, but, you know, she's like, you're involved with what you're doing and then involved with what Mom's doing, that you're not even really seeing the fact that I'm suffering with other things that have nothing to do with my brother and nothing to do with the mutant underground and the mutants versus humans, just life. It was good. It was good. I really like seeing Lauren, seeing that depth from Lauren, because we don't get a lot of that. Like, last season, I feel like Lauren was very surface on a lot of things, but I like that this season they're kind of delving a bit deeper into her character and into Andy's character as far as their actual emotions and thought processes outside of the mutants and the power stuff. Reid, we gotta talk about Reid and these powers. So there's not much to say, thankfully, because we didn't get too much more advancement over last week. The difference is that we see Reid is trying to read through his father's medical notes about himself, which is smart, trying to get an understanding of what his powers were like. And it's cool to see that apparently Reid's powers began to manifest themselves before Papa Strucker went, or Grandpapa Strucker, I should say, did all the tests on him and tried to suppress his mutation. So the headaches apparently were always a precursor. I thought maybe that was just like some kind of reaction he was having now because he's trying to like not have the powers come forward, but apparently that high-pitched noise and the headaches looks like it always is like the predecessor to the powers, which OMG, homie, like what is he just disintegrates stuff. He literally touches something and it ceases to exist. It crumbles like paper in his hand. That is pretty amazing, guys. My guess is like that was inorganic matter, but I have to think that it'd probably work on organic matter as well, which means he could literally like touch somebody and like melt them out of existence. Like what? That's amazing. That is an amazing superpower. Also super dangerous. That is not a power that you want to have accidentally go off. Particularly if you have a spouse who like sleeps in bed with you. You know what I mean? Like in having a nightmare or something like that, and you touch her leg and her leg just disintegrates. You know what I'm saying? Like Reid's gonna have to get that stuff under control, and he needs to talk to somebody, because rule number one of mutant powers is once you discover you have them, you need to learn how to use them, because if you don't, that's when bad things happen. And Reid is letting way too much of his emotions take over right now instead of dealing with this. So I was really hoping in this episode we're gonna see him confide in Lauren, because I could see him doing that before talking to his wife, because Lauren's a fellow mutant. You know, she knows all about emerging powers and how to deal with that kind of stuff, whereas his wife, bless her, really doesn't have that common ground with him, so to speak. So anyway, I'm sad we didn't get it, but I feel like it's, I don't know how much longer he's gonna be able to keep it, because like that outburst was the first, I think that's the worst he's probably had. So I mean, now I see now why he's going no when it happens, because that is a very dangerous power to have, especially with so many delicate things around. And to kind of wrap up the stuff with Reid, I thought the moment between him and Andy on the phone was very interesting. You know, Andy clearly just wanted to talk to Lauren, see if I mean, honestly, if the last dream you had about your sister was that she was falling over a building to her death, I can understand why Andy is desperate to kind of hear her voice and hear that she's okay. But that whole interaction when he heard his dad's voice, and kudos to the actor who plays Andy, he did a really good job of kind of showing a range of emotions in that moment of hearing his dad's voice, because we know that the relationship between Andy and Reid has always been strained. But you see like kind of the initial moment of kind of surprise, like he didn't expect to hear that, and then almost a little bit of like, you know, you got like a little well in the eyes, like almost like a little bit of, oh, Dad, and then obviously the other emotions, you know, the frustration, the anger, all the things that kind of make their relationship difficult. It's like in a matter of seconds, he kind of went through that entire cycle of emotion, and in the end, you know, he hangs up. But I just thought it was so well done, and in that moment, almost Reid kind of figuring out like, oh, maybe. At the very end, of course, Reid thinking maybe that might have been Andy, but being too late, you know. But even so, we know Andy would have hung up anyways, because we all know him and his dad just don't get on very well. But it was a really touching moment in a way, and I still have hope for Reid and Andy. Obviously, I think that their relationship is gonna be another thing that throughout this series we're gonna see evolve and change and hopefully get better, because yeah, you know, it shouldn't be a, you know, mom and son against daughter and father situation, especially with what's coming up for this family, and especially since Reid is right in the mutant wagon along with everyone else now. Moving on to John. Thunderbird, I mentioned last episode that he seemed a little off to me. Like I couldn't put my finger on it, but I could tell that he just wasn't quite right, and I couldn't figure out what it was. Like I wasn't sure, like I said, it was just an acting choice or what, but now it makes more sense in this episode that he really has been. He was unmoored since last episode, let's put it that way. Getting that origin story of how he was recruited into the underground. I mean, I'm sorry, but was that not straight out of X-Men? Like if you watch the first 5 minutes of the X-Men movie, the original one, the whole introduction to Wolverine, that is so similar with, you know, the cage fighting, getting his butt whooped, and suddenly, you know, just wrecking fools, getting his money, drinking too much, you know, like that. It was just so, like, I just got so many just Wolverine vibes in that first little section of, you know, John fighting for money and just having no purpose in life and wandering through with no, you know, no devil-may-care attitude sort of thing. I mean, the kid was getting hit with sledgehammers in the back. Come on. But anyway, it's cool to see that that's where John came from. It gives us a little bit more background, because in season 1, John was the goody-goody, right? He very much was the golly gosh gee whiz, my dad was an X-Man, and you know, I was in the military and I'm such a good guy and I always want to help people. And while it was still like, we could always tell he had a bit of an edge, obviously, but I don't think any of us really anticipated he had that much of an edge, to the point where he was actually addicted to drugs. Like that I did not see coming. It was interesting to see that John is a character that absolutely needs a purpose to fight for, and that's why he's unanchored. Like everyone's got their reasons for being unmoored this episode, and that's kind of what I feel like was explored. Like I already mentioned, Lauren, she's unmoored because she doesn't know how to feel about her relationship with Andy, right? That's trying to balance, you know, this relationship with Andy plus her family kind of falling apart. Like her foundation was her family, and now it's completely like it's going in 4 separate directions. And so she's kind of discombobulated dealing with that, and the fact that, you know, their actions are hurting real people. Then we had Reid. Reid is unmoored because, again, his family, again, the family is all over the place, but also trying to deal with lying to everybody about the fact that his powers have reemerged, and him trying to figure out, I don't even know what he's trying to figure out. If he's trying to figure out his powers, or if he's trying to figure out how to resuppress them. We don't know yet. And now we get to John, and he's unmoored and has been unmoored because he needs a purpose, right? He was unmoored before when Evangeline found him because he didn't have a purpose. He needs a cause. Like John is that guy. He needs a cause. He needs something to fight for. He's a natural leader. And if he doesn't have a cause to fight for, he really doesn't know what to do with himself. And so with the underground being kind of in shambles at the moment, and him not having the Atlanta branch to take care of anymore, he doesn't really know where he fits or what his purpose is anymore, what he's supposed to be doing. So he's kind of floating a bit right now, and that's why we kept seeing Blink asking him over and over again this episode, "Are you sure you're okay? Are you okay?" Like she can sense that something's not right with him. She just doesn't know what it is. So when he came back from from Philadelphia, and he's like, okay, like I'm back on a mission. I'm back on a mission to figure out what this inner circle thing is. It's a mission, and that's what John needs, right? He needs a focal point. So he was kind of unmoored, but it looks like he's going to find his anchor again and peeling back the layers of what's going to happen with this impending war, because that's at least a cause for him to fight for. That's what John needs. Actually, the one person who wasn't really unmoored this episode was Blink, come to think of it. Yeah, she was pretty much cool. She was very much floating around this episode, but that's okay. I understand with such a big cast, you can't focus on everyone all the time. Let's talk about Jace. Jace is back. He was not at all in the season premiere, but he was back this episode. We see that I forgot that he would have thought that all the mutants that he was dealing with anyways directly were dead. He thinks that they've all died. So he's been trying to get his life back together, clearly, and it's not been going well because, you know, he's obsessed, right? He's obsessed with, and that's really what I have to figure out is, like, what is Jace actually obsessed with? Is he obsessed with getting justice from his daughter by killing all the mutants? Or does he just really wanna, I don't know, that's what I'm trying to figure out, because even the mutants from like the underground last year, none of them were directly responsible for his daughter's death. And the one that messed with his head, Dreamer, who took the memory of him losing his daughter and him having to go through it again, like, she's already dead. So there's really no, like, I'm trying to figure out where Jace is coming from. Like, I guess for him, actually, no, let me take that back. I do know. I do know. The whole idea is that, you know, whenever you want to think about the pain that he's feeling, and I thought it was very interesting that the entire episode, they showed there's pictures of his daughter everywhere, which completely understandable. I do not know what it's like to lose a child. I hope I never have to experience that. And for those who have, wow, you know, but that constant reminder for him, Jace is not taking that as like a, you know, we had this beautiful life in our life, and she was amazing, and we loved her, and, you know, she was gone too soon, but, you know, I'm just thankful for the time we got, and now I want to move on with the family I have left, namely my wife. Jace is instead locked onto that as like a reason, like it's like he still hasn't dealt with that pain, and he still hasn't let go of that loss in the sense of letting go of the fact that there was nothing he could have done to stop it. And so he's turned that into his obsession with mutants, whether it's, you know, I don't know what he thinks he's gonna do. Like, he can't kill all the mutants in the world. He'll never have that kind of time. And killing a handful's not gonna, again, none of this is gonna bring his daughter back or resolve that internal pain that he just refuses to deal with. And so it's very interesting to watch. I mean, clearly we know, even though it looked like it was resolved at the end of the episode with him saying to his wife, you know, throwing away the files and being like, oh, I'm done with this. I just want to be with you. He's obsessive by nature. There's no way Jace is letting this go. And I mean, if it's anything like last season, I'm sure something's going to happen with a mutant like right in front of him to prove to him that like he's right about his conspiracy theory. So it'll be interesting to see what it is that pulls him back into the mix. But if he gets wind of this inner circle thing, it is over. It's a wrap, because that is all the conspiracy theory confirmation that Jace needs, that all mutants are inevitably evil and trying to like hurt everybody, right? So we'll see how that all pans out. But it was cool to see him again, and we're seeing the seeds being planted for, I feel like Jace is going to become like such a super antagonist for mutants. Like, he was set up in last season, and I feel like now, especially with everyone who they keep telling him that he's crazy and that he's holding on to the wrong things or that he doesn't have a point, all those things are all going to feed into Jace as like more and more reasons for him to kind of come after mutants with a vengeance when he finally feels like he's fully justified. We see that Jace, for him, his anchor in life was getting that retribution for his daughter in his mind anyways, and without having that, as we're seeing, he's swaying, he's not sure where he belongs, and so until he finds a new anchor, we'll see what happens. Then we get on to Andy. Not much to say about Andy either, because I feel like Andy's is very similar to Lauren's in the sense of, not Lauren's, I should say, his dilemma is very much like Lorna's. Like, they both know that they're sick and tired of being treated the way that they are as mutants. They both agree with some of what the inner circle is talking about as far as mutant freedom and liberation, but both of them are a little bit, they're starting to hesitate a little bit about the methods that are being used and how far they're willing to go. And Andy, as I said earlier in the episode, or earlier in this review, he was very shaken by the idea that Lauren, like, to her core, is afraid of him. I don't think he ever thought it would go that deep, but it's really starting to bother him now. And obviously, his anchor has been his family. And the fact that the one person, I think Lauren was probably the one person in his family he's always felt unequivocally close to. And the idea that he might lose her permanently is something I think that's really, that shook him to the point where he couldn't even use his powers. We'll see what happens with Andy. I don't know with him, I honestly don't know with Andy. I really don't know. He is quite gullible in some ways sometimes, and I don't know. I guess I don't know. Andy's still a bit of a wild card for me. I don't know where he's gonna go yet. I think he's definitely, as I said, he's definitely unanchored at the moment. I think he's swaying between the camps of whether or not he wants to really be fully dedicated to this or not, but now that he knows, like Lorna made it very clear to him that he can't just walk away because Reva will likely kill them before that happens. It's gonna be interesting to see how Andy decides to go forward, if he decides to really jump in head first for real, or if he really is gonna try to connect with his sister and maybe try to pull out or dismantle the inner circle from the inside. I feel like him and Lorna might end up doing that potentially. Maybe it's an option potentially this season that they might end up being the Trojan horse for the inner circle, but we'll see. Also, while we're on the subject of the inner circle, Esme was the first cuckoo we were introduced to last season, and apparently there was a reason for that, and that was that she, spending all that time with the warm and fuzzy mutants and being away from her psychotic sisters, it looks like Esme's having a little bit of a conscience issue. They always seem like they're 100% on the same page, right? Because they're all telepathically linked, but this is the first episode where we kind of see Esme questioning, like constantly questioning whether or not Reva's going just a little too far, whether or not the methods always justify the ends that they're coming to. This is the first time also we've seen her really be kind of not okay with killing people, right? She was fine with killing the Sentinel agents, but now it's like, oh, well, now I'm not so sure if I want to kill people. So I don't know. I feel like Esme could be a bit of a dark horse as well for us. Like, I feel like if Andy and Lorna decide to become the Trojan horse for the inner circle, they're going to need someone else. Like, they're both crazy powerful, but they're not enough. And I feel like you would need one cuckoo to fight against the other two cuckoos, you know what I'm saying? So we might have to get a little trifecta over there in the inner circle with those three working together. Yeah, I think that was the major characters we focused on this episode. I'm not really talking about Mama Strucker because nothing really is different for her. I mean, it's the same old. She's basically just been obsessed with Andy and finding him and trying to force him back into the family. And I wouldn't say that she's unmoored so much as just not... Like, Reid spoke some straight truths to her in this episode about how she basically is checked out of the family because she just wants Andy back at any cost possible. And while, again, as I said last episode, I understand where she's coming from as a mother. You can't just walk away from your kid no matter how much it may seem like the right thing to do, but she does have another child, and just because Lauren's not actively losing her mind doesn't mean that Lauren doesn't need her mom and doesn't need, some attention, as I brought out in the beginning of this review. So not much difference with her. I mean, I'm hoping they find something else for her to do. I feel like that this is why her obsession with Andy is so in the forefront for her, because I feel like they have nothing else for her to do. Like last season, she kind of came in as like the super medical knowledge doctor in a pinch person, but now that they don't really need that anymore, they need to give her something to do. So whatever, I guess it works for now, so that there's some reason to keep her, as a regular recurring cast member. But that was basically the episode. It was really good, as I said, as a character piece. We did see Marcos, I forgot very briefly, but again, he's kind of been taking a back seat these last two episodes as well. I'm hoping that that's because it's building up to something bigger later in the season, but I do feel for him. it's gotta suck, you know. I think family is something that's so important to Marcos, you know. It's something that he probably values on a different level than other people. For him to be not, you know, not able to see his daughter or know if she's okay is probably just terrible, especially considering that he seems like he's such a warm and kind person. Like, he wanted this baby from the get-go, you know what I mean? He was ecstatic about it. So poor Marcos, but hopefully it won't be too much longer before he gets a chance to, you know, see his daughter. What's going on with little Aurora, right? What's going on with her? She seems like she's been fussy since she was born. I don't know, medically, there's a lot of things that happen. I mean, a lot of babies get sick. That's not completely unusual for a baby to get sick, but this baby's like a few days old, so for her to already have like a fever and not be eating is a little bit worrisome. I do wonder if it's something to do with her actually genetically, or it could just be like babies actually do respond to how their mothers were when they were pregnant. Like, for example, if the mother experienced a great deal of depression or stress during her pregnancy, it can affect babies when they get out of the womb. But I think it's interesting that they're giving the baby a dilemma so soon, and why they would do this and what could be happening, I'm not quite sure. This could just be maybe the manifestation of a power already too. I mean, most mutants don't come into their powers till they're teens, but Polaris is super powerful and so is Eclipse, so maybe this baby's gonna be super special as well. What did you guys think of this episode? I thought it was pretty good. As I said, great character piece. We didn't move too far forward with the plot, but I think it was really good for us to get a good idea of where everybody's at mentally and emotionally, and I feel like it's gonna help us channel where we're going to be going with their characters and their motivations for the rest of this season. What do you think is wrong with little baby Aurora? I'm going to call her Aurora because I hate the name Dawn. I'm sorry for those of you named Dawn out there, but really, nah. What do you think's going on with her? And do we feel like we're going to have Andy and Lorna become the Trojan horse that takes out the inner circle from the inside? Please leave your comments below. You know, I love reading those comments and getting involved in that conversation with you. And if you like this video, guys, please click like. And if you want to see more from this geeky face, please click subscribe. Until next time,